Have a good meeting.
Hey, you're live.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. This is a meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow. We are meeting this evening, obviously, via teleconference, and we're doing so under the permission granted by the governor's emergency order last year for the pandemic that allows municipalities such as ours to meet via video conference. I'm going to do a roll call first to establish a quorum, starting with Deputy Mayor Rosenblum.
Here.
Trustee Gonzalez.
Here.
Trustee Levy.
Here.
And I make 4, and that gives us a quorum. So we are underway. We will begin our meeting as we do when we're all together in person, and as we have been doing recently in these meetings, with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'll please rise with me. If you stare into the screen, you can see that flag over there, and we will recite the pledge.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States,
United States of America,
to the republic
for which it
for which
stands,
it stands, one nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will also begin with a moment of silence, as is our custom when members of our community have passed on since our last meeting. We remember them in our regular board meetings. And unfortunately, over the last few months, there have been an increasing number of folks who have left us. Since our last meeting, we've lost Richard Carey of Kendall Avenue, Rocco Bichetto, Van Tassel Avenue, longtime North Tarrytown and Sleepy Hollow resident, Lenore Meyer from Kendall Way, Juan Carpio from Cortland Street, Canita Rosa Nunez from Mechanico Street, and Josephine Raguzin of Dell Street, also a longtime North Tarrytown and Sleepy Hollow resident with many family members still here in the community. So our thoughts are with those family members and the family members of the others who've passed and their friends. Please, a moment. Thank you. We will begin our meeting with the approval of the minutes. First up, we have the minutes of February 9th. Any edits or changes to those minutes? And if not, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes of February 9th. Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that was 4, and the minutes are approved. Say or motion, I think is the, yeah. Okay, we have the minutes of February 16th as well. Any changes or edits to those minutes? If not, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes of February 16th.
seconded,
Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And it's approved 4-0. Thank you. I've got a couple of announcements. Chief among them, there are a number of efforts underway to increase the number of places that you can go for vaccinations for the COVID-19. And rather than contact them directly, a number of places in Sleepy Hollow itself, please use the county sign-in to do that so we don't overwhelm folks. You still need an appointment for the places that are here in town. In addition to that, we're participating with Terrytown on a survey so that we can better understand vaccination rates and how things are going in our two villages. And we are hopeful that completing this survey will give us some ammunition to get the state to approve, the state and the county to approve pop-up vaccination sites here in Sleepy Hollow in addition to those that are already existing. And I think that would be a terrific asset, certainly for us, if we could do that. So please take 2 minutes and fill out the survey. You can go to the village website to see how to do that at www.sleepyhollowny.gov. So please participate. And we need you to do that no later than this Friday, the 26th. Also coming up in a few weeks, village elections are on March 16th. The polls will be open as usual at 6 a.m. and will be open until 9 p.m. If you want to get an absentee ballot, you have to do that or can do that through the Board of Elections. You can call them at 995-5700, 995-5700, or you can go to the village website for a link for that as well. March 10th is the last day to file an absentee ballot. So if you get one, make sure that you get it in before March 10th. Okay, we'll move on. We're going to start with some department reports. And
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I don't think we approved the warrants yet.
Well, we don't have to do it in the order of the agenda, do we?
Okay.
I see
to
that our
you.
treasurer is on pins and needles, and it just, all right, I will not tease the treasurer.
You forgot. You forgot about me this meeting, Mayor.
Yeah, I'm trying not to think about paying bills. How's that? That's pretty lame, but probably true. Ms. DiGiacomo has issued a warrant to the members of this board. It is in total $982,548.05. And there's a number of larger items that contribute to the size of this particular warrant. It's one of our larger ones. There's 4 items that comprise about $570,000 of that total. Ms. DiGiacomo, do you want to elaborate on those, please?
Yes, I would love to. They total $593,529. The first one is our health insurance bill for March in the amount of $201,969.63. There's also a bill there for a Continental Street project in the amount of $198,859.55. And then we have our 2 LoSAP program funding amounts for the fire department in the amount of $143,500, and for the ambulance corps in $49,200.
Okay, thank you. I'm glad. Thank you for the enthusiasm as well. Are there any questions for the treasurer on any part of the budget? Sorry, getting ahead of myself. Any part of this warrant?
Hi, yeah, it's Sam. I have a few questions for Sarah. So starting on page 1, there's I was just curious, there's one on there for Kingsland Park, and it's like for $148. What is that for? Just curious.
$146.44. Is that the one you're referring to?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's alarm monitoring
For
for the 3 locations there.
Okay. And on page 4, we have a bill for professional consultants for $8,000. This was for treasurer professional consultants, the bond anticipation notes. Are we using our accounting firm for that?
No, we use their bond. They do our bonds when we do our renewals every year. It's
Okay.
our,
Yeah, so they keep us honest, right?
well, there's a lot involved. They have to do publications and they put our bids out. So yes, there's a lot of work that's involved there.
Okay, the next one is on page 7, some kind of admin fee.
That's the monthly fire department admin fee.
Oh, that's right, okay. And then on page 11, Han Engineering. I'm assuming that has something to do with one of our projects.
Yep, Cortlandt Street.
Okay. And page 16, Continental Sewer. We're doing some kind of survey. That's another consultant we're using, I'm assuming.
Yes. Oh, wait, which one?
On 16.
Are you talking about the MTS infrastructure?
There was Continental Sewer.
Yeah, that was the large payment we were referring to earlier, the 198,000.
Okay, that's right. On page 19, there's one on for 69K.
Yes, that was for milling and paving on New Broadway.
So did we do something similar to what we had done in the Manors where we hired our own paver instead of having Con Ed do it?
Just on New Broadway in the section they didn't do. The paving they did in Weber Park. We had mixed results with Sleepy Hollow Manor, and we felt it would be better to just have Con Ed do the majority of Weber Park. So we still have to get into Weber Park and do some more streets, but now we did New Broadway.
So what was that, a matching?
No, that was the cost of everything. They did half the street and we did the other half.
Oh, okay. So we used their contractor for that?
Different did we use, no, we used their contract, same contractor, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and on page 24, there's a bill for $8,000 for surveying.
Yes, that was for the Clinton Street, the streetscape project.
Okay. All right, and that's it. So I just have one sort of overall observation. And I guess, when you look at these reports on a regular basis, the one thing that's always coming up is central garage. And, there are like all kinds of different costs. And it could be anywhere from like $25 up to like $8,000 for a part or for this or for that. And I think it would be great, and maybe you can talk to Richie about this, but at least on a quarterly basis, if we could see a report for central garage expenses, because looking at it on a one-off basis in the warrant, it's just very difficult for us to gauge the cost, and it would be much more helpful if we could see that on a quarterly basis. Reason being, every year when we do these capital requests to pay for this, that, or the other, those capital requests are sometimes very significant, right? And if we can track what's going on from a maintenance point of view, then it gives us a lot more insight into the rationale for buying a new truck or something to that effect. So.
Sure.
Trustee Gonzalez, good segue, because today was our kickoff meeting the DPW study.
Mhm.
The things we looked at was the budget and how to keep track of inventory. They're going to send us forms and ways of doing it, which would make it clean and neat for you guys to understand what we're spending money on.
Wow.
And we also talked about a 5-year capital plan for DPW. So we're on it. And
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that, Anthony.
Okay.
I no further questions, Sarah. Thank you.
Gentleman yields. Can I get a motion if there are no other questions or comments on the warrant? Can I get a motion to approve?
A motion to approve the warrant?
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye or indicate aye. Aye.
Aye.
And the warrant is approved.
Thank you.
Your enthusiasm is rewarded. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, now we will move on to reports. We'll begin with our Chief of Police, Chief Boetti.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Trustee. I hope everybody got to enjoy our late winter, early spring-like weather we had today. It was a relief from the past month. So last Thursday, we had another bridge builders meeting. If you recall, that was the collaborative between several police departments, Greenberg, Elmsford, Sleepy Hollow, and Terrytown, and the high school students of that community, of those respective communities, rather. We're having a virtual summit on March 3rd, where we will explain where we're going to go with this as far as Terrytown, Sleepy Hollow, how we're going to address the high school, and the other municipalities will do the same. Also, then we'll also bounce ideas off of each other. Sleepy Hollow and Terrytown, we plan on having a workshop / meeting once a month with the high school students. On the police end, we'd explain certain instances such as car stops, of how we do it, why we do it, just to explain a little bit more on why we do things and complete transparency. We would ask the students to come up with a topic that they were interested in and where they had questions about. During these meetings, we'll also rotate officers to come in and help with the presentations. This way, it introduces the officers to the students and the students to the officers in that manner. This bridge builders, it actually just started off with Greenberg, Terrytown, Sleepy Hollow, and Elmsford, and it's gained some traction. In our last meeting, we had several chiefs of police and commissioners from other municipalities interested to see how this works, and they are seriously thinking about adopting the same type of program in their communities. So recently we've had, as no surprise, we've had several snow events. The PD has worked with DPW in the snow removal process. I'd like to thank all of our village residents for their patience and understanding, as we did have a lot of snow a few weeks ago. Also want to thank the DPW staff for keeping us all safe and removing that snow. And of course, the PD in their relentless work through these storms and with the snow removal. Just wanted to bring up, so we're down to approximately 72 active COVID cases, which is a substantial decrease since the last time we spoke. We still have over 1,500 residents that have been affected since last March. I just want to put it out there, this isn't the time to get complacent about it. Things seem to be dropping. We're going to have our first sports events with fans in the seat, with the Knicks and the Nets tonight. But like I said, it's wear your mask and social distance. This isn't the time to get complacent. We did have one event that took place last weekend at Kingsland Point Park, the Horseman Polar Plunge. Approximately 40 to 50 people decided to go for a quick swim in the Hudson River for a good cause, the Galata House. It's important to note that the same amount of swimmers went into the water, came out of the water. Unfortunately, due to COVID concerns, the police department usually does the annual open gym.
Chief, were they the same number of swimmers, but were they the same swimmers?
It was definitely the same number.
Okay.
It looked a little bit different because it looked quite cold. Unfortunately, due to COVID concerns, this year we couldn't do our annual open gym for the students that we do during the winter recess. We are planning to do something during the summer, hopefully, depending on the COVID restrictions at that time. Finally, I just wanted to, the Westchester County Civil Service will be giving the Westchester County Police Officer Entrance Exam. It's tentatively scheduled for May 15th and 16th. This is the first time that they're doing it over a 2-day period. It'll also be possibly in 2 sessions each day, a morning and afternoon session. They're having difficulty finding a place that will be able to accommodate all the people that take the test. They haven't made the announcement yet, but it should be coming out in a few weeks. We will be doing the same recruiting that we did 4.5 years ago in our inner village, which gave us a historically large list of village residents that worked out quite well for us. The Westchester County Chiefs of Police is also doing a recruiting video, of which our Officer Sosa has volunteered to participate in. When the announcement's made, we will also have a link to our village website. And that's all I have to report for this month.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions or comments from the board for the chief? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Mr. McCarthy and the building department, and architecture and planning, and it's somewhere we have got to,
Code enforcement also.
yeah, we've got to come up with like Shaq, there's got to be, put it all together in a way that we can just say it as an acronym. Okay, please.
Building department works for everybody, I think. Oh, good
All right.
evening, everyone. Would you prefer that I share my screen and review the?
Please, I think it's helpful, and
Report
it's
there?
certainly much more informative for
Okay.
residents.
Okay, Anthony, can you allow me? Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Okay, do you see my report up? Just
We do.
Okay, so this is the monthly report for January. And starting out with permit activity, 77 permits were issued. Out of that, we also had 24 certificates of occupancy issued, and we conducted 4 property record searches. A breakdown of that is on this sheet here. And this itemizes all the permits that were issued and the revenue that was generated for each permit category. And you can see the monthly total added up to just over $58,000. And for the year to date, we are just over $1.3 million in revenue. In comparison to the other months and in other years, January was actually a good month compared to the previous 3 years. So we've added, instead of going back to just a 3-year status on our revenue chart, we're just going to add and have a 4th year so we can compare 4 years now to date. And we're hoping that February picks up compared to last year. On our budget, we spent just over $600 in expenditures, and that was basically due to some equipment that was purchased, and also our postage went up a little bit, and that's pretty much due to Village Hall being closed and mailing more things out. And there was also a purchase of some uniforms. So that just added up to just over $600. So our balance for the year is still pretty good comparing that we're more than halfway through the year. The zoning board did not meet in January. However, there was a meeting this month in which there was one item on the agenda that was postponed. So the next zoning board meeting will be on March 17th. And we're also it's going to be a Zoom meeting. The planning board had a special meeting on January 7th in which they just focused on the approval of the Block O and P site plan and subdivision down at the Edge on Hudson project. The scope of that work includes the addition of 20 more townhouses that were approved for construction. The regular planning board meeting was held on January 21st, and at which time they approved the final subdivision up at the Rockefeller Estate, which was essentially a lot adjustment. It wasn't a creation of any new lots. They also approved a site plan resolution for the Mayapack National Bank building, in which they are taking the vacant office space on top of both the bank building and the law offices next door, and they're going to convert that space into 14 apartments. Also, there was a public hearing held for a new house that's going to be constructed up on Evergreen Way. And just to fast forward, there was a planning board meeting last week in which that site plan was also approved. And at this point, because this report was done early in February, the next planning board meeting is scheduled for March 18th. And again, that will be a Zoom meeting. The big item that's on that agenda is going to be hopefully the approval of the Block A site plan approval down at the Edge on Hudson project, which involves the construction of the Chico's Market. So that's moving on. As far as the development goes, the phase 3 site work and infrastructure is underway down at the Edge on Hudson project. That's pretty much the last loop that's going to go along the water's edge and tie back into the existing phase 2 that's currently constructed. They've been obviously delayed with the weather, but with good weather coming this week, I'm sure we're going to see a lot more work happening down there then. Also, what's moving on pretty quickly is the construction of the apartment buildings along the Metro North Railroad, which comprised 188 apartments. Right now, the push is to get the first building, which we call now 305 Legend Drive, and that is the 40 affordable units that are being constructed. Actually, this week we conducted both plumbing and fire sprinkler inspections there. That went very well. See, also moving ahead is the condominium building, which is 200 Legend Drive, which is also known as Block E. And that involves 17 condominiums. They're looking to have that building ready for occupancy this spring. Also of good news, we had 2 more certificates of occupancy issued for the townhouses on Block J. And we actually have an inspection there on Thursday, which involves additional framing to more townhouse units. And then finally, down at the Edge, the Heinz building, now known as 2 Maxwell Drive, which is the construction of 246 apartments. They've completed the construction of the parking garage. Just see, as far as code enforcement, we had 15 complaints were filed, 11 violations issued, and out of the 11 violations, 7 appearance tickets were issued. So last month, building court was held by video conference on January 28th. There was 11 cases on that calendar and 8 cases were resolved. We also have building court this week, which will be held also by video conference this Thursday. And I think we actually have 6 cases on that calendar. And that's what happened in January. If you have any questions.
Very active month, a lot going on. Hey, Sean, can you share with us approximately how many certificates of occupancy we've issued to date down on the project?
Sure. All the COs so far have been issued for the townhouse construction.
Mhm.
So there's 72 townhouses that were approved for construction. Out of the 72, well over 60 are in some stage of construction, whether the building structures are completed and they're working on the interiors right down to pile driving. So we're at all different phases of construction. So far with the 2 COs that were issued this month, we're up to 12 certificates issued. Toll Brothers has shared with me that their schedule is to complete about 40 more units this year of townhouse construction. As for other, just so you know, for other phases of occupancy that we're anticipating, as I mentioned before, the condominium building, which is known as the E block, there are 17 units. And again, I'm pretty sure all 17 are sold and they're looking to have occupancy in the spring. At this point, because of the weather, we're probably going to push that. I'm going to think probably late spring, early summer for occupancy there. But also the first 2 buildings of the Block I units that are along the railroad, they'll probably be opening up for rentals. I believe the buildings are looking probably late summer, early fall for occupancy in those units too. The third of those buildings is probably lagging about 6 months behind.
Thank you.
The Heinz building is a little farther off, but it is moving quick. Actually, once the garage finished up and the crane moved out, they've already started stick framing the exterior walls, pouring concrete almost every other day. So it's really moving quick.
Mhm. Great.
Great. Any other questions for Mr. McCarthy? Good, thank you, Sean.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Be well.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to public comments. Mr. Giacchio, has anyone indicated that they would like to address the board?
Yes, Elliot Martone from the PMIA.
Okay, Elliot, you're up. Please be reminded you have 3 minutes and you may address any subject.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Anthony. First thing, I wanted to just follow up on an email that I sent that we publicly, and want to say publicly that we thank the DPW, Richie Gross and the guys for the great work that they've done with all our significant snowfalls. And also both Anthony and Richie responding to our request to open up the catch basins, since we're starting to have warmer temperatures and melt off, and we were getting concerned about the possibility of flooding in the streets if the catch basins weren't open. And we were happy to see that DPW was out today to start that process, and we hope that'll continue, not only on the catch basins that are on the corners, but also those that are in mid-block that help take off that flow that comes down from Route 9 to Bellwood, and also in the mid-blocks between Bellwood and Monroe. So we're very happy and pleased about that, and very grateful for the quick response of the village, as always. The other thing I just want to follow up on is last full meeting, there was a presentation regarding the I'm sorry, debris in the area. I forgot the name of the presentation. I requested a copy, and I would like to receive that so I can share that with our board and our membership for people who were not able to attend the public meeting, and get that information out. It looks good, and we want to be able to spread the word around. And basically, I thank Sean McCarthy for his update on Edge. We're all anxious about this project. It's a big shot in the arm for the village, and it's a one-time process that we're going to have for a very long time to come, and we're all anxious to see it done correctly. And we understand that the village board and the mayor are the lead agency, and we hope that any proposed changes or anything would be made public at these meetings. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Martone. Mr. Giacchio, anyone else indicate they'd like to address the board?
Yes, Ann White.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. White, you're up.
Yep. I have a couple of topics to address. First of all, I'm delighted to hear from the chief about the collaborative program with the high school students and the with Sleepy Hollow and Tarrytown and Greenberg. That's a terrific idea. You mentioned that they were looking at car stops and the way those were done. And I'd be really interested, and this may be for Thursday's policing meeting, in knowing what other topics they're interested in. Then in terms of the report on the scheduling of the entrance exam and the local recruitment, I'm wondering if there are any special efforts being made to recruit more women and Spanish-speaking officers. And my final topic is related to a question about the sidewalk down from the traffic circle at the bottom of Beekman to the river, and wondering when that will be able to be opened up, which will give a more direct walking route down to the Riverwalk and the Wishing Wall. And as warmer weather begins, it would be lovely to have that able to be opened up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Mr. Giacchio, any other requests to address the board?
No other requests.
Then I would just remind anybody who is watching the meeting who would like to address the board, there'll be another opportunity to do so at the end of our meeting. Okay, we'll move on to resolutions. First up is on certifying the LoSAP points. Could somebody read the resolution, please?
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow confirming the length of service award points for fire department members for 2020. Whereas the mayor and trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow has by appropriate resolution and referendum previously established a length of service awards program we call LoSAP for the volunteer members of Sleepy Hollow Fire Patrol, Mechanical Hook and Ladder Company #1, Rescue Hose Company #1, Union Hose Engine Company #2, and Columbia House Company #3. In accordance with Article 11-A and Article 11-AAA of the General Municipal Law, and whereas the fire department began calculating points for participating members beginning January 1st, 2020, and whereas the results of the fire department's tabulations for 2020 were posted for the required 30 days, and whereas the results of the fire department's tabulations for 2020 were sent to the Board of Trustees of the village, now therefore be it resolved that the service awards report for LoSAP points earned in 2020 by individual members of the fire department is received, accepted, and approved in the form attached. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say or indicate aye. Aye. And it is approved. Two things. One, I'd like to thank Trustee Gonzalez for shepherding this process, lengthy process along. And then all of us would like to again thank all of our volunteers for the work that they have done, are doing, and will be doing in the future. We have another resolution, I believe, for the ambulance corps.
Yeah, I can take that one.
Thank you.
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow confirming the length of service award point system for ambulance corps members for 2020. Whereas the mayor and the trustees, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow has by appropriate resolution and referendum previously established a length of service award, also known as LoSAP, for the volunteer members of the Sleepy Hollow Volunteer Ambulance Corps in accordance with Article 11-AAA and Article 11-quadruple-A of the General Municipal Law. And whereas the ambulance corps began calculating points for participating members beginning January 1, 2020, and whereas the results of the ambulance corps tabulations for 2020 were posted for the required 30 days, and whereas the results of the ambulance corps tabulations for members who received 50 points for 2020 were sent to the Board of Trustees of the village. Now therefore be it resolved that the LoSAP reports for individual members of ambulance corps who received 50 points is received, accepted, and approved in the form attached. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say or indicate aye. Aye.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. And again, thanks, Sam, for your work on this. And thanks to all the members of the ambulance corps, especially in this past year and with what's going on. Still continuing with the pandemic. And Ms. DiGiacomo, you can now send those checks that we approved in the warrant. So go mail them.
Oh, right now, I'll go right now.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's move on. Our next is, we've got a couple of resolutions regarding tuition reimbursement. Could somebody take the first one, please?
I'll take it. Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow reimbursing police chief. Whereas Police Chief Anthony Boetti has enrolled in the Criminal Justice Master's Program at the University of New Haven, and whereas pursuant to Article 12 of the Collective Bargaining Agreement, he would be entitled to a tuition reimbursement of up to $13,000 per year upon completion of class where a C+ or better has been achieved. And whereas Police Chief Anthony Boetti attended this class on his own time, no overtime was incurred by him or any other officer. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow approves a reimbursement to Police Chief Anthony Boetti for tuition expenses from the University of New Haven in the amount of $2,973.16. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say or indicate aye.
Aye.
Resolution is approved. And
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow reimbursing police officer. Whereas Police Officer Kevin Moyer has enrolled in the Public Administration Master's Program at John Jay College, and whereas pursuant to Article 12 of the Collective Bargaining Agreement, he would be entitled to tuition reimbursement of up to $13,000 per year upon completion of class where a C+ or better has been achieved. And whereas Police Officer Kevin Moyer attended this class on his own time, no overtime was incurred by him or any other officer. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow approves a reimbursement to Police Officer Kevin Moyer for tuition expenses from John Jay College in the amount of $1,787.50. So moved.
Seconded.
moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say or indicate aye.
Aye.
The resolution is approved.
I've got the next one. Resolution
you.
of the mayor and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow to approve consultant agreement for the Police Reform Collaborative Project. Whereas the village is desirous of hiring a consultant to assist the village with the Police Reform Collaborative Project, and whereas Dr. Sophie Charles has submitted the attached proposed engagement agreement to provide this service, and whereas the police chief and the village administrator have recommended approving this engagement, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the attached engagement agreement between the Village of Sleepy Hollow and Dr. Sophie Charles to assist the village with the Police Reform Collaborative Project. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say or indicate aye.
Aye.
And the resolution is approved. We've got a stormwater report proposal that we discussed last week. Somebody take that resolution, please.
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow to approve proposal from A1 Engineers for Stormwater Management Report. Whereas the village board is desirous of hiring an engineer to complete the village's annual stormwater management report, and whereas A1 Engineers has submitted a proposal to complete this work at a cost of $2,750, and whereas the village administrator has recommended approving this proposal, now be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the attached proposal between the Village of Sleepy Hollow and A1 Engineers to complete the village's annual stormwater report at a cost of $2,750. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor say or indicate aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the resolution is approved. And we have one more resolution.
Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow confirming the actions of the ambulance corps. Whereas the Board of Trustees approves the actions and recommendations of the ambulance corps members as stated in the enclosed memo to the board, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees directs the village clerk to notify the ambulance chief in writing of this resolution. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, just to make sure everybody realizes that the following members have joined our active membership from the Junior Corps: Allison Lara, Giali Lara Moda, Jean Lara Moda. We welcome them to the ambulance corps.
And a new member in our junior corps, Dylan McGee. We look forward to Dylan following in the footsteps of Allison, Giali, and Jean. Thank you all. All in favor say aye. Say or indicate aye. Aye. Thank you. And that completes our resolutions. Anybody have any old business or new business? We did have at our last meeting, we had a discussion, beginning of a discussion about the pandemic plan that had been put together by Mr. Giacchio that had pretty much outlined what our practice has been so far. And just a reminder, we are obligated or required or mandated by the state to adopt a pandemic plan, I believe by April 1st, correct, Mr. Giacchio?
Correct.
And that plan was first introduced last week and circulated among the members of this board. Does anybody have any changes or updates that they would like to make to that? We have a few more weeks, obviously, to consider that. If there aren't any comments now, we can raise them again next week in our work session. So if not hearing none, we'll move on. Any other new business?
Mr. Mayor, sorry to interrupt, but we did send the plan to our village council, our labor attorney for review.
Mhm.
Also, we're going to add in what we're doing with the Police Reform Collaborative, that this will be an ongoing process as things change. And we'll set up a committee to meet monthly or as needed beyond April 1st. So we'll add that to the plan as well.
It is my sincere hope that we do not have to meet monthly to address pandemics.
Well,
I think this is one we'd all really like to see in the rearview mirror, and we don't want to go through this again. But that's a wish and not reality. Thank you for the update, Mr. Giacchio. And we will look for those comments from the representatives of our employees as we move forward. As I was saying, any other new business or old business while you're thinking about that? Ms. Bucci, do we have any communications?
None at this time.
Thank you, ma'am. There's no new business or old business. I'll move on to public comments. Mr. Giacchio, anybody indicate they would like to address the board?
yes, Elliot Martone would like to speak again.
Right.
Take it away, Mr. Martone.
Great. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Ken. Question posing to the Marion Board of Trustees. As we're coming into the spring, capital programs are going to resume again. I was wondering about the project schedule for curb replacement in the manor. Do we have a street by street plan in place for what's going to be addressed? There are several blocks that have severely either no curbs left or severely damaged curbs, and they're due to be replaced, but we don't know which ones are going to be addressed, and we'd like to get a schedule of what the DPW has in store for that.
Okay, we will respond once that is in place. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Giacchio, any other public comments?
No other comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Martone and Ms. White, for your comments as well. Member of the board would make a motion to adjourn the meeting, please.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All of you, please say or indicate aye. Aye. And that was unanimous of the board members present. So I want to thank everybody for being here tonight and or watching tonight. Continue to be safe. As the chief was saying, we're not out of this thing yet. And look forward to warm weather and being able to be close to people again. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Everybody.
Night, everyone.